It's time for Transport Line, the program that showcases the contributions of all modes of transportation to the socio-economic growth and development of our country, Africa, and the rest of the world. Transport Line is being beamed to you from the Center of Excellence, the state of aquatic splendor, and Africa's second largest economy, Lagos. I am Shina Elegbede. Glad to know that you are keeping us company. In continuation of our series of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu are true in governance, we shall focus today on road mode of transportation. Pedestrianism comes before road mode of transportation. But to most people, especially in Nigeria, road modes of transportation is a very key means of moving people and goods and services from point A to B. Hence, we are going to assess how far Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has gone in making sure that we have a Silili-Werere movement on our roads. And to really look at the scorecard to date, is a transportation consultant, fellow Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, Olusola Ogunyakin, who is on set to really give us his own assessment of how far we've gone. Shola, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Road mode of transportation. Bola Ahmed Tinubu are two in governance as president. How do you assess him?
First, we thank God for everything. I'll say this as an intro that 2 years is not enough to have a comprehensive assessment of the performance of government on the roads in Nigeria. In Nigeria, because there are roads that are 20 years old since it was commissioned that are still ongoing. So the story in Nigeria, and I keep saying in Nigeria, is roads don't finish. Construction of roads really don't finish. You hardly see governments that start a road, a major road, and complete it within their tenure. It's usually very, very rare. And the percentage of completion is very rare. So based on that, I would say 2 years is really not enough time to have a positive, to either say they have succeeded or they have failed. So I will be in between. I won't be able to say, okay, they've done well, and I won't be able to say they've not done well based on what is on ground. Because when we consider what has been going on in Nigeria, 2 years, because a lot of the roads, the present government is working on 13 major roads. Out of those 13 major roads, only 3 or 4 of them are the ones they are starting in 2024. The remaining 9 or 10 are dated back as 2012, 2017, and way, way, way back that the government then have refused or were not able to complete. So if we start looking at their performance, first, let's assess roads that are already existing. Federal roads. I personally will not give a pass mark because the state of those roads, some are even worse than it was when they came in, but we cannot really point to many that we can say are much better off than when they came in. The ones I'm very conversant with, Shagamu or Benin Road, it's still, some portions will be okay today, another portion will be bad. When that portion is fixed, another bigger portion will be bad. There are so many portions where traffic faces itself because the other lanes are terribly bad. So and it has been like that, it has always been like that. I mean, so for me, I didn't feel any difference in that. Look at what happened to the bridge in Mokwa just a few weeks ago. That a lot of people died because the bridge collapsed. That bridge has been there for how long? It's part of the things that should have been rectified. in the last 2 years, but nothing has been done. Now, until the bridge collapsed, for days and weeks, the north cannot connect to the south through that lane. So when you see that happening in 2025, do you give the government a pass mark? Do you really? Because this is a very key road linking two regions. And if the government has not done anything about it in the last 2 years, and we all pretend everything is okay, then we can't really say the government has done well in terms of that. But also, they're trying new roads. The new roads, yes, some of it are already ongoing. Some abandoned roads, I'll list some of them. There are about 13 roads now that are under construction. The Abuja-Kaduna-Dual Carriageway. That road has started since 2017. It has been abandoned. So for the government to revive it and say, okay, we'll do it again, it's a good one. That's why I said when we look at everything, you can't say within 2 years they've done badly or they've done very well. So the Abuja-Kaduna road, it's one that is being worked on. Even though they promised that there will be some commissioning this year, it has not been commissioned. The 9th mile Oktukwe road, the same thing. Over 10 years ago, that road had started. It is yet to be completed. But again, it was abandoned at the time, and this new government has taken it up, and there is work going on there. So we look at all these new roads that are being revived. Then we'll say, yes, there is a promise in sight that things will be better. Now, the Sokoto-Badagry road is being mentioned over and over and over again. But this government is bold enough to say, let's start it. So they've started from the Kebbi section. And we will give kudos for them for at least starting, because that road has been in the pipeline for more than 20 years now. Successive governments keep saying they want to link Sokoto to Lagos Badagry, but nobody has had the boldness to start it. So for this government starting that, we'll say, fine, they've started somewhere. But my problem with these new projects is, I'll give an example. The Bodo Boni Road in Rivers State. It started with a valuation of 210 billion when they awarded it, 2014. They couldn't finish it with 210. They reassessed it. In 2021, it became 199 billion, the new assessment. Still, they will not finish it. Now, this year, in 2024, that same road, that same singular road that they spent so much on.
Same length?
The same length, nothing has changed. The new assessment to complete that road now is 280 billion. That road has started since 2017. So my problem is when government start roads and you know you don't have the money to finish it, why do you start it? Because you have all the figures at your fingertips. So why did somebody start that road? They gave you a bill of 120 billion. Now the bill is 280 billion. And we are not sure when that road will be completed. So only God knows by the time they want to reassess it again. Because what happens is the road is done, some percentage of it is done, then work stops. Then by the time another government comes, or by the time the same government says, okay, we want to start this work again, the contractor comes and say, sorry, we had this contract to build this road within 2 years. We've spent 2 years, so we have to reassess again, and then we will have to. So, and that's why I'm saying it's too early. 2 years is early for us to completely assess and say, I can say they're a failure or they're a success. Okay. So it's in between. But the problem with Nigeria, which I hope this government will address, is start what you can finish.
Okay.
And that has been the problem.
Okay.
Because by the time you go on, you cannot finance it, then it becomes a problem. You stop for 6 months or 1 year, you want to start financing it again. The cost is going to be more than double what you have planned for.
Thank you very much, Shola, for your brief assessment of the infrastructural inputs into the road mode of transportation. But let's now look at road mode of transportation as a tool for economic growth and development. We heard about CNG, now electric vehicles. We knew when the government came in, that is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, fuel subsidy has been removed, and the ripple effect is still there. So what has this gone to do, or what has been the impact on road mode of transportation in terms of moving people, goods, and services, and what government has done to really cushion the effect?
The chairman of the National Orientation Agency just last week was addressing newsmen in Abuja. And he said, among other things, that the money saved from fuel subsidy, removal of fuel subsidy, have been spent on road infrastructure. In fact, he mentioned that it has been spent on revamping 40 roads. Unfortunately, I looked at the press conference. I didn't see the list or the names of the roads that have been
rehabilitated.
That was what we were expecting. But experiences has shown otherwise. We have not really seen the impact on transport costs, because we've not seen the impact of the subsidy on transport costs. What we've seen the impact is the removal of fuel subsidy has affected transport costs. So transport costs has gone up and it's still going up. But we've not seen the impact on, we have fixed the roads and then journey time is shorter and transport costs come down. We've not seen the effect. And when transport costs does not come down, that means food cost, because majority of everybody will need to eat. And food has to be carried from one place to another. In fact, everything. Logistics controls everything, the movement of goods and services. So transport costs have not reduced, which means to the average Nigerian, even with the increase on the minimum wage, what is the cost of transport after the minimum wage? At 70,000, for example, if you live in Bega here and you work on the island, you will spend about 2,000 naira averagely daily. So if you go to work 22 days in a month, that is 48,000. So your transport costs, and if you are on a minimum wage, or even if you are earning more than the minimum wage, if you are earning 100,000, for example, 44% of your salary is already on transport. You've not talked about feeding and the rest. It's too high. So what effect? I mean, because I'm talking of road mode now. The airfares are even much more.
Yes.
So every other thing has been affected by the removal of subsidy. But there have not been any significant government policy to bring any of these fares down. So people are still experiencing the hardship because, I mean, if you are going to be spending 40, 44, sometimes 50%, some people 60% of their salaries on transport, then what other benefits, what are you working for? I mean, it got to a stage, Lagos State government had to say, you don't have to come to work every day. You can come 3 days, you can work at home and the rest. But still, that did not have enough effect to cushion the result of the removal of subsidy. So when we're looking at road mode, I mean, so if transport is taking 40-45% of your earning, and that is if for somebody who's earning 100,000 and thereabout, that's already above the minimum wage. If we are considering the minimum wage of 70,000, and somebody is already spending 40,000 on transport, that's more than 50%. So what is left? House rent, food, and the rest. So how will the person survive? So you see a lot of people trekking halfway, trying to see who can take them to work, or telling everybody they are sick when they are not because they cannot afford to go to work on some days of the month.
Yes.
So when we look at what effect, what policies have affected the road mode to make things easier for people? I can't point to any.
Yeah, but government introduced the CNG driven buses to really cushion, so to say. I know some from around Monwe down to CMS and what have you. Also many in Ogun State. Many were donated from National Student Association body, things like that. What impact has it really have on?
I am in the bus transport, high capacity bus transport industry, and I will say it is very, very insignificant. As of today, CNG buses operating on Lagos Road, where we have the highest, is now up to 2% of the total number of buses operating. It's not up to 2. Let me say maybe 1 or 1.5%. They are now up to 2% of the total number of buses that are operating daily on Lagos roads. So what effect would, let's even say, okay, it's 5%. What would that have?
CNG driven buses. Okay.
What effect would that have on the general? How many are they? How many are they? So when we're looking at, yes, he has introduced CNG. What we kept hearing was that buses were coming, CNG buses were coming, and when the buses come, will have the effect. But the few individuals, how many buses have come?
Also, conversion rate of privately owned cars from petrol to CNG or dually possible streaming.
Again, what percentage of vehicles have been converted? You see, I happen to speak to a couple of the guys that are doing conversion. It's not every vehicle that they will have to assess your vehicle. Yeah. And a lot of people take their vehicle there. And because of some other things, your engine must be in a state to accept the CNG mixture. So if you have been using a car for maybe 5-6 years in Nigeria and you take it there, they might tell you, sorry, the level of this engine will not be able to take the CNG conversion. So there are some other technicalities involved. So it's not every vehicle that goes for conversion that gets converted. Yes. So again, when we look at the figures, what's the percentage? And does that number have any significant effect on transportation? I would say no. It doesn't. Yes, it's a good initiative. Maybe in another 2 years, maybe people will buy into it. But you can only buy into it if you're buying either new vehicles or freshly brought in Tokumbo vehicles that still have the engine strength and all other things to be able to convert to CNG. So it's not every vehicle that is convertible. There are some other things that the engineers will check and make sure they are in place. But a lot of vehicles are, a lot of people are parking their vehicles at home because it's difficult to maintain. So you must have maintained your vehicle to a certain level before they will say, okay, conversion will work on this one. So it's not every vehicle. So the number of vehicles that have converted compared to the volume of vehicles we have is still insignificant.
Shola, still on the road mode of transportation, its impact on the socio-economic growth and development of our society or country since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came on board. Premium costs for insurance, vehicle license, driver's license has gone up. This indirectly has affected the socio-economic life of the people. How do you see this?
We have a government in place that is bent on increasing internally generated revenue by all means, trying to reduce dependence on oil and other
sources of income.
Yes.
Or revenue, rather.
Yeah. And this has an adverse effect on the populace. Now, this June, driver's license costs will increase again. And the per capita income of the average Nigerian is not increasing. So this will only have a negative effect. It's not rocket science. There are no other means of getting money. But your costs are increasing. Every little thing that you get, the government wants to find a way to increase it. Everything. From bank charges to everything. And this, again, puts a pressure. So you've given somebody a minimum wage of 70 naira. 70,000. Now the fuel is fluctuating, going up and down. So transport costs are increasing. Food costs are increasing. The floods this year again, the insecurity in the farming areas is banker that food prices will increase because the food crisis, the food basket of the nation, they are under siege.
Yes, Benue Plateau.
So that means that the few that are able to produce foods, the food will be more expensive than it was before. So what else? The roads are not too good for motorists. So there's nothing to tell us that transport costs will reduce that may bring food prices down. So a number of things, I've not seen the indicators in practical terms that will bring the cost of living down. So if that's not going down, and we're now increasing all these little vehicle renewal costs, driver's license cost, passport cost, MOT, everything. It's not in tune with what the people want. It's not in any way helping the average Nigerian. It's only eating up on our income. And there is no corresponding way to either increase the income or at least reduce costs in some other way. It's not happening.
Shola, I know that renowned economists have said that it is not a good policy to keep on increasing the taxes and raise on the average citizen when the inflation is not only high, but
Still
the
increasing.
income of the average people is getting lower on a daily basis. I want to thank you for finding time to come on Transport Line to look at the mode of transportation, its socio-economic impact on our lives. Unfortunately, two things are major in our lives today in Nigeria: insecurity and high cost of foodstuff. And I tell you, the road mode of transportation is playing a significant role in this. And it's not, from your analysis, it's not only the improvement in road infrastructure that will do it. There are other parameters that should be looked into so that really we will be able to feel the impact of what government is doing in terms of governance. We're going to draw the curtain on Transport Line. Next week, we shall be looking at railway. Before we go, Shola, I remember that of all modes of transportation, it's only road that doesn't have a minister, in the sense that you have Senator Alkali looking at transportation, road, and railway, but unlike Boyego Yotola looking at money and blue economy, Olorogun, the SAM man in aviation and aero development, that's Keyamo.
Keyamo, yes.
Okay? And all these. So something should be done. We should really know. When you're talking about transportation, it goes beyond what?
Roads.
Development of infrastructure.
Yeah, it goes
there are
beyond
other
roads.
things that
Yes, definitely.
go with it.
Definitely.
It's a pleasure having you on set.
Thank you, sir.
Well, till next week, I say bye-bye for now.